Good morning, Oilers. This is Emma Rutkowski with Ism News Report. Today, two major groups have once again come into conflict, this time over education. The Society to Purify Americans, SPA, has recently succeeded in its campaign to introduce creationism and religion requirements in a public school system. However, the National Deism Foundation has arisen to protest this new school law, claiming it goes against secular beliefs of the nation. Here representing the SPA, we have Abigail Williams, and representing the NDF is Lucy Jefferson.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me as well.
So, Ms. Jefferson, what are your thoughts about introducing religion in public schooling?
Well, we at the National Deism Foundation believe that the founding fathers took the right approach in the separation of church and state, a more secular nation. We are not the largest fans of direct conflict. However, we believe that implementing religion in the education of future voters is a threat to the very beliefs that our country stands for.
Of the Society to Purify Americans, actually, I would believe, and I would say for all the others in our community, that the introduction of religion into public schooling is a huge success. This is a plan we've been thinking about for 4 years now, and now that it's happened, it's a dream. To us, Americans, we need religion.
Well, I do believe that religion is extremely important, and I do not deny the existence of God. However, there is a time and a place for religion, and that place is not a classroom. The government, and an extension, the education of our country, should not be influenced by religion. You've just found a way to restrict the freedoms of students who may have different beliefs than us.
Religion is just as important as any other class, and if anything, the teachings of school are morally damaging and contradict the highest authority of the Bible.
Then again, religious freedom is a right that is given to all Americans, men, women, and children, and should be implemented in our schools. School is a place of learning and reason and observation, not blindly following an easily questionable document.
The way you're thinking of it is that the church is holding people down and limiting their freedom. But that's not what's really happening. By being a part of the church now, only then can we as human beings be saved. Do not think of us as forcing faith on the students, but bringing them salvation.
You're speaking like a 17th century Puritan.
I consider that a compliment. The Puritan society was truly a city on a hill, an ideal model for a society with Christian-run people.
These people were also notable for an extremely harsh theocracy that was easily corrupted. Or have you forgotten the incident of the Salem witch trials?
I'm sorry for having to cut you off, but that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for sharing your views. And now on to some exciting news.
Now we have a special treat here today, folks. The former owner and founder of PAIR is here to talk to us about his amazing journey these past 2 years. As you all know, Ralph Emerson was the founder and owner of PAIR. Emerson became a billionaire off his invention, the PAIR phone. But then one fateful day, 2 years ago, he gave up everything. He sold his company to his competition, he gave up all his money and personal belongings to charity, and then he packed his remaining possessions and left. He bought a plane ticket to the tip of South America, where he hitchhiked his way up to Canada. Emerson is here today to talk to us about his life-changing journey.
Thank you so much for having me here today, Emma. I can't wait to share all the amazing and mystifying details of my journey.
So, I've got to ask, why'd you give it all up?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Well, the reason I gave it up was because I felt unfulfilled. I felt like I had no purpose. Yes, I had all the money that most people wanted, but I just didn't feel happy. I just felt empty. So I decided to seek fulfillment. I decided to cut ties and leave everything behind and experience new things.
So, what did you encounter on this journey? You said you started on the very tip of South America, right? What was it like experiencing new cultures and landscapes? Did you miss first world life?
Well, I did encounter a lot of things on this journey that I don't even know where to start. There were a few rough patches along the way, so I started at the very bottom of Chile at Cape Horn, and let me tell you, it was quite the change. First off, I had to figure out the language, but luckily it's true that the immersion method helps a person learn new languages the quickest. I had to find people who would give me shelter until I could move on to the next town. You would not believe the spirit of these people. Most of the individuals I encountered in South America and Central America were so giving. They treated me as a guest. I did not miss the first world life because I had gained much more from the poorer little towns I visited than I ever did in the rich neighborhoods I lived in.
So, tell us, did you end up finding fulfillment? Did you learn from the different cultures and religions you encountered? And what were some of those rough patches that you mentioned earlier?
Well, as for those rough patches, there were a few times where I was almost robbed and my shoes were worn out, but luckily the locals were able to lend me new shoes. The hospitality of these people was unparalleled by anything I have ever experienced. I learned so much from the people I met. I saw the best of human nature on this trip, and it made me realize that humans are inherently good. I've learned that money isn't everything, and that compassion and helping others helps you find a community, which gives you a feeling of fulfillment. So yes, I've found my purpose. My purpose is to gain as much knowledge as I possibly can so that I can help others. Instead of valuing reason, I should be valuing intuition because it will lead to understanding.
So, how did the natural world affect you on this journey? We remember that you were a dedicated man to the church back in your business days. Has your opinion on how to connect to God changed?
Yes, my opinion has certainly changed. I used to think that organized religion was important, but I've learned that dependence on organized religion to connect to God is tedious. There doesn't need to be an intercession between God and man. Divinity is internalized and self-contained in every human being. I was able to find this special connection to my personal soul and God through the natural world.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have, folks. Mr. Emerson, thank you once again for coming and telling us about your transcendent journey.
This just in is breaking news. There's a report saying that one of the beloved sporting companies, Mixed Sporting Goods, is caught yet again in another sweatshop scandal. We go to Jack London for the live report.
As you can see, we're standing right outside Mixed Sporting Goods, the very company to ignore child labor laws. This is their fourth scandal over their past 10-year reign. As product sales soar for Mix, their reputation continues to go down the drain. On the previous Tuesday, it was discovered that Mix is still using child labor in order to make their products so cheap. These kids are stuck in a severe state of poverty, and Mix has been paying them enough to get little food, but enough to stay within the promise of more. The company is basically feeding off their misfortune.
That is horrendous. Last time we saw the shop experience a very long trial after many people came forward saying what happened. Is this situation different this time?
Yes, it is very hard on the children and the families. As of now, all we know is that the owners are denying the abuse of the children. The children and parents are calling the supervisors human beasts. One child said that they are stuck in this low societal position because of God's will and that they can never escape. At a time like this, it is hard to think that God is real and what God will let this happen to children. According to the attorney for Mix, the children are obligated to receive minimum wage and at least 3 meals a day. But Mix is refusing to give the children what they so desperately need to survive.
People want to know if Mix is found guilty, will they lose their business?
As of now, yes, it seems as if this being their fourth time, it will be their last. After their last scandal, the company lost about 47% of their customers. They still made a lot of income from their sales, but the store was not being frequented as much as the years before. The children working at Mix have been deprived of what they need. These children have been living in poverty ever since they were hired, and they expected to be paid a sufficient amount of money to help support their family. But that is not the case. The children are stuck in their societal class, and even if Mick pays the amount of money required by law, it is not enough. They will forever be affected by this life. I'm Jack London signing off. Back to you in the studio.
Well, Oilers, that's all the time we have. This has been Emma Rutkowski, HB News Report. Stay classy, Oilers.